Welcome to this week's Techie Tip. We are going to continue our series on Google Forms, and our focus for today's lesson are questions. What type of questions can be used in a Google form? So if you'd like to follow along, simply open a browser and type in forms.google.com. That will bring you to any forms that you may have created or any forms that are available to you, along with, of course, the templates. We're going to continue working on our training form, so let's open that up. As you can see, I've populated this particular training form with some questions that I think everyone is pretty familiar with. The short answer, the paragraph, checkboxes, and drop-downs. We're all comfortable with that kind of answer. But what I do want to show you are some items on the question form itself. First of all, you can move the question order by simply grabbing these 6 little boxes, putting your mouse over that, clicking, holding the mouse down, and of course dragging the form to any location that you would like in terms of question order. You can change the type of question you have by simply clicking on the drop-down list that they provide for question types and choosing a different question form. You can delete an answer from your list by simply clicking on the X button. You can, of course, add other in terms of there may be an other response that's available. You can duplicate the question by simply clicking on this, and it duplicates the question so that you're not necessarily typing everything all over again. You can delete the question by clicking on the trash can icon. And most importantly, you can determine whether the question is required or not required. This, if you're using a survey or the forms in a quiz format, you would definitely want to have as required. What we're going to take a look at now are a couple of other types of questions. It's best to be in the last question so that when you click on the plus button where you can add another question, you can simply add it to the last on the list. In this scenario, we are going to choose a multiple choice grid. There are lots of reasons why to use a multiple choice grid. One of them may be to get a better sense of when a student might use their iPad or when you think they should be using their iPad. So for example, if we were to type when do you use your iPad as a question, we might have our first row might include English. Our second might be math, science, and so forth, whatever particular categories that you want to have answered in this multiple choice grid. Then, when do we use our iPad? At school? Home? Perhaps never is a response that we have. So that's a pretty simple way to create a multiple choice grid. We're going to add another type of linear question, and before we do that, we want to maybe ask the student to rate a picture. What do they think of something, or rate an activity that you've done in class, or rate an activity that they've done, or even rate a book or a paragraph that they have may have read. So before we actually put the linear question in, maybe we want to actually add the picture. So in this case, I'm going to do a search for Edward Hopper. I think all of us know that Edward Hopper was a famous artist that lived on the Cape and had a house in Wellfleet, and he's created and produced some beautiful works of art. Let's select this picture here and choose the select, and this will now appear in our screen if you notice the three little dots here, we can change this, align it in different formats, or of course remove the picture. So now that we have our picture in here, we might want to add a title. We'll just say Hopper image. And now that we're on our screen here, what we want to do is add that linear question. And we've clicked the plus sign. We're going to choose a linear scale. And what's really nice is that you can go from 0 to 5, 0 to 10, 1 to 5, 1 to 10 by simply selecting your options from 0 to 10. And the first might be don't like. Our second might be, or our label 10 might be love it. So we've created this linear type question. We're going to actually take a look at our whole form in a moment. So that's a nice way to use that linear scale. We would also have an option here to add a video. So if we click the add video, it gives us another pop-up box. If we had a specific URL, we could enter that, but we may not. So let's type in GMath. GMath. This is a neat add-on that we're going to talk about in our next techie tip. But for now, we've selected this video and we're going to add a title. And here we go. We can do the same thing here. We can center align the video. And so we've put in a video. Our last item that we're going to add in terms of question types might be a neat little thing called the date. We want to know when this student actually did this survey or answered this quiz. And you've got this question in here, and when we look at our form, you'll see how this all this fits together. So last but not least, we have an icon here called Add Section. We have different ways of presenting information as well as quizzes and surveys. We may have a series of questions that are geared towards American history, and then we have another section that's geared to the causes of the American Revolution. So you could simply add a section, and you can see it continues to the next section, and we could just type in. So it's pretty basic to use, and you would of course add questions relating to the next section. So we've looked at all the different types of questions we can put in using this particular sidebar by adding questions, videos. We can of course add the title and description and sections. So what does this all look like? Let's go to our preview icon and take a look. So here we go. We can enter our short answer. We can enter our long answer. We can choose from our drop-down boxes and our check boxes. And here's that multiple choice grid question that we asked earlier. Do we use our iPad in school? Do we use it at home? Or do we never use it? So moving on to our next question that we created, this is our linear type of question where we're actually going to rate this picture. You would then choose whatever comes to your mind. I happen to love this picture, so I'm going to give it a really good rating. And here's our video. I'll just start this video, and as you can see, it just begins playing right in there. And of course, like anything related to YouTube, you can maximize the screen video. You can also add your own videos if you have specific videos that you've created, if you've done any blended learning, that type of instruction. And our last question that we created was the date. And here we can actually put the date that we completed this survey And since we have another section, we would click the next button. That would bring us to our next section. Of course, we didn't create any questions for that, so there is nothing for us to submit on that next one. That's pretty much the type of form questions that are available when you use Google Forms. Next week, we're going to take a look at some add-ons that I think you will find very helpful in the instructional process, especially if you use this survey form as a quiz for your instruction.